Okay, so today we are doing our second type of word problems, which are area questions. All will use the formula area equals length times width. Okay? It will be important for you probably to draw a picture, which is what I will do on every one of these examples. Okay? So I'm going to give you 3 different types of questions. I'm not going to be repetitive here. Okay? I'm giving you 3 different types. So start with the first one. When your book draws this picture for this one, it does it differently than I do it. So it doesn't matter if you want to look at what the book does, that's fine. But I draw them separate, as separate rectangles. Okay, so we start. A rectangle is 10 meters longer than its width. So I've got a rectangle. They're telling me nothing about the width. So that's my x. 10 meters longer means to add 10. We've had some confusion on some of our words with our rectangle questions in the past. If it says twice as long or 3 times as long or 4 times as long, that's multiplying. But when it says longer, that's always an addition. Okay, some of you have put multiplication when it should have been addition. So 10 meters longer would indicate x plus 10. So then it says, if its length and width are both decreased by 2. So instead of me making a rectangle inside of a rectangle, I'm going to make a different one. Okay, so it's saying, if you had this other rectangle, and you decreased by 2, which means to subtract 2, both dimensions, so if its length and width are both decreased by 2. So we're comparing it to the rectangle I just did. So to take this width and decrease it by 2 means x minus 2. And to take this length, which is x plus 10, and decrease it by 2, so subtract 2 off of that, I would get x plus 8. Okay, so decrease it by 2. X plus 10 minus 2 would give me my x plus 8. If I do that, so it says if its area is decreased, if the length and width are both decreased by 2, its area is decreased by 48. Okay, so this has some area, I don't know what it is, but this has that same area minus 48. Okay, it should make sense. If you're decreasing the dimensions, the area should be smaller. Okay, now from this information, there are 3 different ways to set this up. I want you to think about it. Okay, and I'm going to do it the way I like to do it because from my experience, it's the way that the least amount of mathematical mistakes are made. Okay, so that's why I'm going to choose the way I'm going to do it. Okay, so this should make sense, hopefully. If you take your smaller rectangle and you add 48 to its area, so you take the area of the smaller one, add 48, that should equal the larger one. Correct? The area of the smaller rectangle, add 48, the area of the larger rectangle equals the area of the larger one. Okay? I could take the area of the larger minus the area of the smaller, and that would equal a difference of 48. That way is bad. Don't do it that way for sure. Okay? That's the mathematical mistake haven. Okay? Don't do that one. And this is the way I do it. I take the larger one, subtract how much bigger it is, 48, and then I set that equal to my smaller one. Okay? So the 3 scenarios make sense though. The areas are differing by 48. So you can do the smaller plus 48 equals larger, the larger minus smaller equals 48, or the larger minus 48 equals the smaller. That's the way I choose. Okay? So once I get it set up, I have my area of the larger rectangle, length times width, minus how much bigger it is, which is 48. And that should equal the area of the smaller rectangle. So there's my setup. Now I'm going to solve. So I'm going to distribute x times x, x to the second, x times 10, 10x, minus 48. And when I go to this right side, I should be thinking what? What's my word? FOIL. Very good. Binomial times a binomial. So I should be FOILing. First times first, x squared. Outer times outer, minus 2x. Inner times inner, positive 8x. Last times last, minus 16. If I get any x squareds, or any x to the thirds, or any x to a power in these questions, they should cancel out for goal 3. Now goal 4, when we go to the next chapter, they're not going to. Okay, but now they should. So I have x squared on both sides, they cancel. If you have the same term on both sides of the equation, they're gone, out of the equation. So I end up with 10x minus 48 equals 8 minus 2, 6x minus 16. Subtract my 6x, so 4x minus 48 equals minus 16. Add 48, 4x equals 32, and divide, and x is 8. Be sure to answer the question. Find its original dimension. So this is the original rectangle. So x represents the width of 8, the length of 18. So the width of the original one is 8 meters, and the length of the original one, 18 meters. Okay? So again, 3 different ways you can choose to set it up. 3 different ways. I just would not go ever with larger minus smaller equals the difference, the 48. Would not do that, because there's just too many math mistakes to make on that one. Okay? Okay, some clarification on that one. Some questions. Okay, next one's a little bit harder. Once I show it to you, I think you'll have it, but it takes a little bit to see it all.